The last thing we should be doing is making our economy beholden to yet another foreign-sourced energy, especially in these times when these geopolitical problems are really starting to heat up. So the government has said two things about the reasons why we need liquefied natural gas. They talk about the dry year, which we'll go into, and they also talk about industrial jobs, the 2,500 jobs that are at companies that run on gas. I'm going to talk about those industrial jobs first. Those jobs don't actually rely on gas. They rely on those companies remaining profitable and continuing to operate. I think we can all agree we need to figure out ways of keeping those businesses moving. But the government's own data from the Energy Efficiency Conservation Authority suggests out of all those industrial gas users, about 1/3 can electrify economically now. Another third can electrify technically, but probably not economically. And that's where some assistance might be required from us, the taxpayer. And there's 1/3 that really still need gas because the technology doesn't exist yet. And that 1/3 that still really needs gas, well, we actually have enough domestic gas supply still to be able to run those companies. So in many cases, it's just providing low interest or interest-free loans over a long enough period of time so that their CEO and their boards can make decisions to move on to electricity and away from gas, and to support them to continue to provide jobs and to continue to grow the productivity of our nation. And then the final third, well, we protect them, we look after them. That's things like Frontiera. Dairy is a massive thing for our economy. We need to protect them and look after them. But if we get rid of all this other gas use, then we actually do have enough gas available to support those industries. Now, the only thing that problem has in relationship to the dry year electricity problem, which is what this has been drummed up as trying to solve, is that they both run on gas. Aside from that, they are actually entirely mutually exclusive things. When we look at the dry year, we have these amazing hydro assets in New Zealand, and we have about 6 to 8 weeks worth of electricity storage within those hydro assets. You can think of our water dams or our big storage lakes as kind of like a large battery. What a dry year is essentially it stops raining in autumn, and then when the rain falls in winter, it falls on the hills as snow and doesn't hit those lakes for a couple of months. That causes a massive problem because our lakes start to drain down as we use that water to generate really clean, renewable electricity in New Zealand. We start to panic, we start burning Indonesian coal at Huntly, we start turning on all the gas peakers, and all of a sudden the price of power goes up dramatically. When the lakes get low, we start burning fossil fuels. That's called retrospectively firming our hydro lakes, right? That is bad for the environment, that is bad for everybody's wallets, that is bad for our economy. Our argument is more that we need to hold on to that water for longer. How do we hold on to that water for longer? Well, quite simply, we generate other electricity when we are able to and avoid draining the dams, called preemptive firming. Now, the thing about hydro that makes it so powerful, along with something like gas, is it's called peaking, right? You can turn these things on and off really quickly. When you're talking about coal furnaces up at Huntly, it takes 24 hours to 48 hours to turn them off and on. And our argument is really simple. We do not need to spend $1 billion on LNG in order to facilitate that peaking. What we think we should do, which is a far cheaper capital outlay, is actually do that with diesel. We already import diesel into New Zealand. We already have diesel peakers in New Zealand. We can buy a couple more diesel peakers for considerably cheaper, and we can use those and turn them off and on while we scale up renewables. We need a national strategy around scaling up renewables to wean our way off this foreign-sourced dirty fossil fuels. And the final point in all of this is that we need to become an energy sovereign nation, and we are actually very good at creating energy. But we do not have a lot of fossil fuels in this country, right? We have some, we do not have a lot. The last thing we should be doing is making our economy beholden to yet another foreign-sourced energy, especially in these times when these geopolitical problems are really starting to heat up, right? Our economy would fall over if we lost the supply of fossil fuels from foreign nations at the moment. So we need a very temporary solution while we scale up our own energy. There are a number of ways that we can scale this up. One thing I'm particularly excited about is rooftop solar in New Zealand, because not only does that scale up generation, it also is the only demonstrable thing that will lower energy bills for New Zealanders. And I think that's what the government always needs to be focusing on. That is the one true litmus test. Is it going to raise or lower power bills? Now, they claim that LNG is going to lower power bills, but they won't guarantee it. What we know is they're going to provide a levy, and we can guarantee that levy will be passed on to customers. Whether it's actually visible as a line item on your power bill or not is beside the point. It will result in higher power bills. Putting solar on the roof, the savings are absolutely phenomenal. There is so much savings on your energy bill that you can pay back the capital cost and the interest cost, still pocket $1,000 a year, right? And that 9 kilowatt system that you put on your roof, get this, in winter, right, at its worst possible time, will generate the same amount of electricity in a winter in a dry year as 1 ton of coal, or about 360 kilos worth of liquefied natural gas, right? 9 kilowatt system is probably 18 solar panels, and those solar panels are 22 kilos each. They will last for 25 years, right? This is clearly the more efficient way forward. But scaling up solar on the rooftops of New Zealand it's going to take a while, right? I wouldn't say take an awful long time. If we set our minds to it, we could do it quite quickly, but it will take a while. So I do agree that we need some form of energy security in the meantime, while we scale up renewables, rooftop solar being one of them, other forms of power generation like geothermal, wind, and utility scale solar being other ones of them. It will take a while to scale up, but let's not commit ourselves to a massive infrastructure project when the goal should be to reduce foreign source fossil fuels from our energy network. This LNG terminal ultimately is going to cost you and me an awful lot of money, right? What we know for certain is that solar systems on our rooftops will save you and me an awful lot of money, right? One can be done faster than the other, and I think that's a really important point to acknowledge. But at the same time, solar on rooftops is part of a portfolio of solutions that we need to be looking at. You build out that portfolio of solutions and you use something that we already import like diesel, where the infrastructure already exists to do it, and when it's really, really cheap to upgrade that infrastructure if we need to, it's a really short-term backstop. That is an insurance policy. Now, the government has spoken about LNG being an insurance policy. I don't know about you, but when I take out insurance, my goal is to still never actually claim on that premium, right? So are we building something we're hopefully never going to use? And is $1 billion insurance policy really worth it when we could do it a lot cheaper in another way?